Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Seeking Awe. And today I'm going to talk about a experience I just had just a few days ago on mescaline. It was my second time trying it. If you're new here, I highly recommend going back and watching or listening to my first recap. This one, this one was something else. Like, the first few words I put here are just wow, wow, wow. Wow. As you can tell, it's difficult to even find the words, but this experience was at least like tenfold more powerful, deep, everything than the first one. And that's saying a lot, considering the first one I would easily rank as like top 3 most profound experiences of my life. And it had now been a few months since that one, and this one just fucking blew my mind. And really just has given me so much. So I can't wait to get into all of the details, because it was, a wild journey. So first I'll just talk a little bit about kind of how I was feeling going into this. And this particular trip, I was actually in such a good mood. The weekend before, I had gone to this retreat, a little weekend retreat, where I just met so many amazing people and just felt so full from adding, new people to my spiritual fam, my soul fam. And then later in the week, I taught my third class on non-duality mindfulness, and third workshop, and that just went so much better than I ever could imagine. And that was Friday, the night before this big, epic San Pedro ceremony. And so I was going into this ceremony really on a high. And again, just like the first time, I hadn't really thought much about the intention. This time it was more intentionally not thinking about it, rather than just kind of neglecting to. I realized it was really powerful to kind of just see what comes up, in the moments before the ceremony. What kind of intention I wanted to set just in the last minute. Maybe it would have just been have the medicine show me whatever it needs to show me, which is kind of what I ended up setting. So I didn't set anything, and we'd all kind of introduced ourselves, and I just said that I'm in a really good mood, I'm really excited, I'm happy, I love this space, and just looking forward, excited to journey with everyone. And then once we started going around the circle and people were starting to do the hape, I remember thinking, just sitting there meditating, that I wanted my intention to be, I wanted to be humbled. That was one thing, because I was on such a high already. I'm like, this can't last forever, obviously. And so I need to be humbled, like kind of brought down to earth. And then at the same time, I wanted to see my vast true potential. So literally what I wrote, I said, I have so much love in my heart. This week has been magic. I want to be humbled while also shown the vast extent of my true potential. And they had these kind of little earth cards, and you can pull one, and or tarot cards or whatever, and you pull one and just see what kind of message you got. And mine was ocean, ebb and flow. And so I said, bring on the ebb and flow. And so, yeah, that was what I had in mind going into it. And this time I was not too worried about the happy part. So if you listen to the first one, you guys will know I had a pretty intense experience on happy. But since then, I had tried it on 3 occasions with Joel, our guide, and had much milder experiences. And so this time it was quite fine, just minor little purging when a little bits of it got down my throat. But it was, very mind expanding, a little bit of nausea, but for the most part, I was okay, and it was all, back to mostly normal after about 20 minutes. And yeah, so then after that, this time I only did take 2 cups. So the first one, again, didn't really feel anything after about an hour, and I didn't throw up or anything. I'd held it down for the whole time for at least an hour after it. And last time, it was about, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes after each cup that I essentially threw it up. But this one I didn't. And so I got the second one, but then, within 2 minutes of drinking the second one, I threw up, and I was a bit disappointed because I'm like, oh, I must have just wasted that whole second cup. Maybe this experience won't be as strong as the last one. But I also didn't really feel like drinking another. But that was obviously super wrong. Yeah, so this one was just really, really beautiful. And really did give me exactly what I had asked for. I was 100% humbled, and also just shown my vast potential in so many ways. So early on, I was just feeling just tons of love. I don't think I had stopped smiling for hours. And I honestly think I spent a solid 90% of that entire night, 14 plus hours, just grinning ear to ear. It was just really amazing. Yeah, so as it was coming up, I was just feeling, tons of love, just very happy to be there. I remember thinking this will stay, this feeling. And I was also getting something that was quite significantly different from the last one, is I was starting to get really strong sensations in my hands and feet and face, very similar to the sensations I get when I do certain types of breath work. So when I do, for example, Wim Hof breathing, when you energize your body like that, you kind of get these tingling, almost electric-like sensations in your body, and it tends to pool a lot in your hands. And then I also did something that's very similar to something called holotropic breathwork, or it's also known as biodynamic breathwork or holographic breathwork. There's lots of things, but it's more a kind of trauma release breathwork, similar to Wim Hof in some ways, but extended, less intense, and extended over a long period of time. And during that, you get very just strong electric feeling, energy pulsing through your body. You just loaded your energy, your body with energy. And sometimes you kind of puts your hands in weird positions and locks them up and things like that. But what was strange about having that in this experience is I wasn't doing any sort of breath work. You know, it just kind of happened naturally. And something that I had learned in this breathwork session that I was talking about, I had just done it the weekend prior. And something that I found very helpful and was recommended to do prior to it was to, you know, use movement to kind of help release that, because you start getting locked up, like your hands turn into like little like raptor claws and it can actually kind of be painful, and so you actually feel like you need to move to kind of release some energy. And so in this mescaline trip, as I was starting to feel that, I just, you know, very naturally was like, oh, I need to move my body in like all these strange ways. And it was, you know, it was very much just intuitive, like whatever felt like needed a little stretch, a little you know, like just that little tweak. I was doing that like everywhere, you know, in my legs and so on. And it really resulted in me like going into these very strange positions. Like it's like almost like demon like. A lot of it I was like on my stomach actually, and just, you know, really like I was embodying a demon. Like, this is the best way I can describe it. Almost like an exorcism type, strange, you know, more flexible than I thought I was kind of positions. And at times it was like, it was super intense, but it wasn't like painful, but it would have been painful had I not been, you know, just so full of love. So like, it didn't matter, like the types of positions I was in were intense and similar sensations to what people would usually call pain. But in this situation, it was just like, it was so fantastic. Like I wanted it all. Like I was just like, you know, yes. And so I would be doing that for like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, and then I would just feel like a huge release, like I had just, you know, squeezed out any amount of tension that was there that needed releasing. And it just, then I would just explode with love is one way to put it. And, you know, then I would often just lay on my back and just like grinning ear to ear again, just full of like ecstatic love towards everything. And so it ended up being just like a cycle of this throughout most of the trip. But more and more, each release, each demonic contusion was more and more and more and more intense, to the point where on many occasions during the release parts, I completely lost, you know, any sense of being human, basically. Like any sense of body, of sounds, of sights, of anything except love. Like just pure love and beauty existed in this state. At the very, very peak of it, this kind of white light just filled my visual field, and with like gold fractal patterns. And like it's interesting though, because like this experience is not, it wasn't very like hallucinatory for a lot of it, not in the same way that mushrooms were, I guess. So like this scene, like behind my closed eyes, most of the night it was dark. But like as I was truly surrendering and kind of completely dropping the ego, this like flickering of the purest light I had ever seen. It's truly difficult to put into words what that experience was like. But it was very much a non-duality experience, but one of such intense beauty that there's no words for it. I Googled some things, and the closest thing I think it was what Christians call the beatific vision, which is like the ultimate vision of God or something like that. So I think that's something like what I had. Yeah, and so sometimes during those kind of beatific vision states, I would just be in complete awe. And like the odd time me would come back and I would like, notice, oh, I feel like I haven't breathed in forever, but it probably wasn't even that long. Sorry. And there were times coming back from those just pure ecstatic bliss that I was just so, I remember just being like, oh, like I have a body. I can feel the ground and I can see. And I remember just feeling like it was just comical, I was just laughing that I could have even possibly forgotten that I had a body. And then during those times, sometimes I was like kind of like half crying or just laughing. I had a massive laugh attack, which was just like magic, and it just felt like I was a kid again. It was like just pure giggle. And this happens several times, this back and forth. Magic, basically, is the best way I can put what that was. Something that I actually learned from this experience was I really discovered how valuable kind of my work ethic is, or like my grit. In much of my life, I've always kind of been this, push to the limits kind of like kid, even like in sports. I remember one year I got the award Energizer Bunny because I just would not stop. I would just keep going, pushing and pushing. I was the kid that would push until, you feel like throwing up. I was really into hockey, being physical in hockey. I was really into long distance running. And then in my later teens, I got into martial arts, MMA, which what I loved about that was just, so many things. But what I've noticed now, I really loved that just intense, like, pain almost. Sometimes I've defined myself as a masochist. And I kind of understand that on a deeper level now than I ever had before. This is the same reason why I absolutely love climbing and like really intense hikes and things like that. Because I just love feeling like the intensities of what there is to experience. But the thing is, it's not that I love like suffering, because in those states of those intense pains, I'm not suffering. That's what's beautiful about it. It's like the complete opposite. It's that pain becomes ecstatic when you embrace it, when you just fully accept it. And even in those experiences, there's obviously huge releases too. Like in MMA, after a match, you just can feel, pure ecstasy. In climbing and hiking, when you reach the top of a mountain, you just fully release and are in a pure state of awe. And so this experience on mescaline was kind of showing me that part of me, you know, like many of these times where I was contorting my body in weird positions, it wasn't something that I like had to do, you know. It was something that I wanted to do, to like, you know, just experience it experience it fully. And it just felt natural, like it would relieve me. But it wasn't necessarily easy to actually do that, you know. There was times where I actually would feel a little bit resistance. I'm like, no, like I just had a huge release, heart opening, pure love, ecstatic love. And then as I would start feeling tension in my body again, I could just embrace the love, you know. But part of me was like, nah, like go for it all. And when I would do that, I feel like that's what allowed me to go so deep into that experience. Like it was like the grit that I have from my life experiences allowed me to go full on into that. And there's something that really profound came up too, is just, I just had so much gratitude for my dad, because this grit, this like hardworking attitude I got from him, you know. Like he grew up on a farm, like super hardworking guy, you know, would have worked his ass off since he was like a little boy. And so he was just very strong, you know, and he's big, strong guy physically too. Like he's like the archetype of strength. And he's passed that on to me. And it's the reason why I'm doing everything that I love doing right now, you know, like adventuring. And I just remember just feeling like a lot of the things I'm doing, my dad never had the opportunity to do. But he's given me the qualities that allow me to do it. And even more than that, now that I'm on this like spiritual journey, and I've realized that this grit is like the essential key to kind of my rapid spiritual growth. Like I've only been on this journey for 2 years and my life is completely transformed. And I think it's because of my tendency to just dive deep into these experiences, whether it be, you know, within 10 days of my first learning to meditate, I did like a 4-day silent retreat, which, you know, many people would just think that's insane, but that strength, that grit to go full on into these experiences I got from my dad. And now that I'm, you know, applying them to this personal growth, spiritual growth, it's not only changing my life, but I know that it has the power to inspire so many others. Like, I think this is why mountaineers are so inspiring, because they're really just like living life fully, like, you know, embracing it and just inspiring people to embrace life, like the suffering and all, the pain and all. It no longer becomes suffering when you embrace it all with love. Like when you just let go of fear of whatever resistance you're having to these sensations, when you just surrender, but not just surrender, but surrender and love and embrace all these experiences, you just I'm difficult finding the words, but you just find awe, peace, love, and you grow. That's the biggest thing. You grow as a person after these intense experiences. So it's really just, shown me so much about myself, about my journey, and about what I'm actually here to share. And I believe it's to fully embrace life in such a way in these adventures, because I know it inspires others. even if they don't, do the exact same things as I'm doing. It's just that idea of when you see someone climb a mountain, you're more ready to take on the little challenges in your life, because it's like, wow, like the challenge that they must have had to go do that is incredible. It's allowed me, I feel so much more confident now stepping into kind of like leadership roles, like teaching meditation, starting this podcast and YouTube, and sharing my journey. It's not easy. There's tons of fears that exist when I want to do these. Like I have this urge to do them, but I have a more often than not greater resistance to doing them. But now I know that, who I am is the person who pushes through those resistances and just embraces it fully. Like live life with zest. It's funny because on the retreat I was at, we were actually told to, say our name with a little adjective before our name so that people could all remember our names. And I was like, I don't even know any Z word that I could use, like any word at all, let alone one that could be descriptive. But someone said Zesty Zach, and now I realize now, not even then, but now, like how much that makes sense. Like Zesty Zach, like just live life with zest. Yeah, it's something that I realize I haven't really been embodying this part of me so much since starting my spiritual journey, even though obviously I've still been jumping into a lot of challenges and things like that. I've been getting more and more in touch with my feminine side. That's kind of been the main growth in my spiritual journey, and less in touch with that, those strong masculine qualities that I have about just diving deep into challenges. And so now I realize that I still need to keep getting more and more in touch with my feminine. In many ways, that's what the first experience I had on mescaline was showing me. More play was the biggest message there, embracing playfulness, free spiritedness, very just open feminine qualities of my being. And now this one showed me how much I need to fully embrace, the masculine parts of my being. So that means, getting back into MMA. I'm going to try and do that. I will be doing that. Going on some multi-day hikes. Those are solo multi-day hikes are my jam. After those, I come back just feeling so inspired, and I usually get to create beautiful art on those too, through landscape photography. And I haven't done that at all since being in Australia, and that's one of my biggest loves, is doing that, going to super remote places, really challenging places to get to, taking beautiful photos from challenging location spots in the terrain and everything like that, and just creating art. And I haven't done that, so I'm gonna go do that as soon as I have the opportunity to. Yeah. It was pretty freaking magical. I don't really know what else to say about it. That's all I got for now. Thank you again for watching or listening. And I will see you next time. Ciao.